So we're standing at the edge of Gorthaganny village at Carabehy Bog, which is a special area of conservation and managed mainly by National Parks and Wildlife Service. We had a really bad fire here recently. The damage that the fire will have done. So bog fires are not that rare. They happen all the time when we get long dry spells of good hot weather and the surface of the bog dries out and the vegetation becomes very dry. How these things start, we don't really know. There's various reasons for them. From the sun shining through a bottle that has been dumped somewhere can spark off fire. People throwing out a cigarette butt, barbecues, there are numerous reasons why they start. Why this one started, we don't exactly even know at this stage. What we do know is that when the fire started, the fire service plus we arranged for helicopters to come and drop water on it. The main point, I suppose, was to try and protect people's homes, first of all around the bog, then to protect the property like farmland, the forestry like we see here behind us, and then the bog itself. The bog is hugely ecologically valuable. It provides great services, eco-services to the community, to every one of us, from clean water to clean air. Plus it provides home to the wildlife which have for thousands of years evolved to live in what is really harsh conditions. So bogs by nature are very wet and they have almost no nutrients. The only nutrients they get is from rainwater because they're not fed by any water source. So a bog is designed by nature. This has taken 10,000 years or so to develop to what it is today. So we can't just replace a bog, which is why we're trying to do the work on the bogs we have. But it can be described as a giant sponge, dotted several places, hundreds of places all over the country. And when you have heavy rainfall, the bog, acting like a sponge, will soak up all that heavy rainfall, keep it and gradually release it over the next week or even several weeks. What that does is it's flood prevention. When we take away the bogs or we drain the bogs, what happens is they dry out, they no longer hold that mass of water. When they don't hold that water has to go somewhere, so it floods towns, villages, homes, etc. So what we're trying to do is to restore by blocking drains and keeping the water back inside the bog. We're bringing the bog back to what it should be, what it's ecologically designed to do. All of the wildlife that lives on the bog has evolved along with the bog over those 10,000 years. So we have birds like the curlew, which we do have on this site. We have less than 100 pairs, breeding pairs of curlew left in Ireland. It's a 98% reduction from only 1980. So, I mean, we've lost a huge amount of wildlife that depend on bogs. So we're going as fast as we can to do the restoration on these bogs, to bring them back to what they are so that they can support the life that they always... People in Ireland have grown up living with wildlife, like the sound of the curlew, like red grouse, like the skylark, it be the frogs, lizards or any other creatures or bird life that live on bogs. We've all grown up with them in Ireland because there are bogs all over the country. And we've gradually, over the past 30 or 40 years, lost the vast majority of all that. So we're trying hard to restore the bogs so that there will always be bogs here for future generations, and to provide a home for those and a habitat for those wildlife that absolutely depend on that. And it's really important that we preserve those for future generations. So I remember when I heard that the fire had started here at Gorthaganny, I had been very familiar with this site, having done work and monitored this area for several years. I realised that, I suppose, the first thing was the importance of allowing the fire service or emergency services do their job. There was nothing I could do really at that stage, apart from make sure that helicopters were available if needed, which they were in the end. So My job was then that as soon as the emergency services had done their job, I would come and fly a drone and monitor and try to get an idea of how badly damaged the site was, and then report that back. And at that stage, well, I mean, we're still going through the damage and trying to assess how much damage has been done to things like peat dams, which are holding the water in, and we will do restoration works again on any of those that have failed or have been disrupted by that. It's interesting that we can see by the fire that was here how the restoration works that have been done in the past have had an effect, because the wetter areas of the bog were least damaged and the driest areas were most damaged. We hope that at some stage we can have the site in a situation where it's all as wetted as it can be, and that it might prevent this from happening in the future, or certainly minimise the damage that fires will cause in the future. Having worked in this area for many years, I've got to know lots of the local community development group, which are excellent and have always been so supportive of the work we're doing here with the bog. And I know that they feel a genuine connection to the bog, as I do. And it's nice to be with people who not only support the work that's been done on the bog, but also have the same passion for it, and the same, they feel the history and they feel that genuine connection to the bog. And that's really important. If we have communities that get behind projects like this, then it has a huge effect on the outcome in the end. And we're going to be here to support the local community in getting this bog restored to as good a place as it possibly can be. So, having looked at the drone footage that I took immediately after the fire, I could immediately see the damage that would have done to the local wildlife. I had only recently been monitoring a pair of curlew that were here, and I know that the nest that they may have attempted, or the chicks that they would have had, would have been gone. And what I found really sad was that while I was here flying the drone, I could still hear the curlew calling. So, and that was quite possibly them calling because their chicks had been lost or their nest had been lost. And it's sad. That's emotional when that happens. And if it's something that naturally happens, that's fine. But in this case, it probably wasn't. The fire may have been caused by a silly mistake by somebody, but the consequences will last for years and years afterwards. So when you have a very hot, dry spell, which doesn't happen that often in Ireland, but we do get them in summer, and what happens is the bog becomes very dry, the water level of the bog lowers, and the top layer becomes very dry. Then top that with wind. If you have wind, it just spreads and it fires the fire across. So in here, in spots, we can see where the fire has actually travelled completely across a road. Then you have forestry as well dotted around the edge of the bog that also are going to catch fire. Again, it's very dry, it's like kindling, and it's just going to keep up. The best way that we have to prevent that is to continue the restoration work on bogs so that we can keep them as wet as they naturally should be, and that in itself will prevent the fires in the future. We have lots of places along the roadsides where people have dumped rubbish. Bogs, I suppose, 30, 40 years ago in Ireland were often seen as almost wasteland, and it was quite normal for people to dump. Thankfully, people's opinions or people's idea on that is changing. We don't have as much as we used to, but there is still dumping, and that rubbish in situations like this will not help. It will only make the fire worse, and in some cases it may be the cause of why the fire started in the first place. So I'd like to extend our gratitude to Roscommon, Castlerea and Ballyhaunis Fire Service for the work that they have done here. It was phenomenal, the reaction, and I mean, those people are risking their own lives to save other people's lives. And they were out here in extreme conditions in the middle of fire with smoke where you couldn't see them. And still they didn't give up. They were out until they got absolutely everything quenched and everyone safe. And absolute full credit to them. And the people also in the helicopters who stayed here as long as they were needed to do their job. It's fantastic work. So the forestry that you see behind me here that has been badly burned will be felled at some stage and removed from the site. That under licence will have to be replanted in most, if not all, cases. So that it will grow back. There is a commercial loss to the owner, but the forestry itself will come back. On the amount of wildlife that has been killed or removed from the site because of the fire, we don't have exact figures on that. It's very difficult. We can assume that anything that couldn't fly on 90% of the site was killed, unless it could get to the edge. And that goes down to the smallest of insects, up to even creatures like pine martens. The Irish here, we expect there would be some of them on the board, but they would have been able to escape. Some creatures, frogs, lizards, etc., wouldn't. They'd have no hope, so they would have perished. So what I'd ask people is that if you notice anything or any smoke or anything near a bog or woodland or anywhere that you think is the start of a fire, the quicker you call 999 and get help for that, the quicker we can prevent maybe this disaster happening in the future. Gorthaganny has a fantastic community. It really is. They've all come together in this, and they've asked for outside help and influences, and they're getting it. National Parks and Wildlife is here to do what we can. I know the local politicians are all doing what we can, but because it's such a great community with such an interest in the bog itself and the area, I know that they will keep going until everything is done to prevent this again and to repair as much as possible the damage that has been done in the past. That's the importance of a community working together like they do here in Gorthaganny.
My name is Enda Caulfield. I'm station officer here with Ballyhaunis Fire Service, and I joined in 2005, so I'm 20 years, just over 20 years now, 20 years in a few months. Joined on my birthday actually, so it's easy to remember the day I joined. I love the job. I worked my way up from firefighter to sub-officer, and then in the last few years to station officer. I've a good crew here. They're a great bunch. We've our first female firefighter in Ballyhaunis joined us this year, Hannah. She's brilliant, proven to be a fantastic firefighter, great crew member. We're currently, well, as it is nationwide, stations were manned at, there was 9 crew, that's been increased to 12. That'll be a great addition, more crew. Yeah, I love my job. I've been, as I said, just over 20 years. It's very rewarding at times and can be very hard at times. You know, we've seen it. I can't say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. You know, it's a tough job, but it's a very good job. Yeah, we got the call on a Sunday. Came in as a bog gorse fire in Gorthaganny area. So on the way down we could see the smoke. Now the conditions were, as I say, perfect for the perfect fire really. We had a month of dry weather. Really, the ground was really dry, the bog was really dry, and the breeze was strong. We had a very strong breeze on the same day. Where it started, you know, we're trained really, and with experience you can see how a fire is travelling and the speed it was travelling. So we decided, both Ballyhaunis and Ballyhaunis, to try and stop it crossing the road really. You know, we couldn't go in and tackle it, it was moving too fast. We made an attempt at that, but it was just travelling too fast and we had to pull out of there fairly quick. Crossed the road, crossed into forestry. It was moving at a real fast speed. The fire was moving at a very fast pace and grew from there, really. We could see where it was going. You know, we have iPads, we can see the maps of the area, so identified that there was houses at risk. Forestry, houses. That's when I decided to get help, get the helicopters in, so I requested the helicopters. And in all fairness to the senior officers, they were made available as soon as they possibly could, you know. It was hard going. It was hard going on the Sunday, it was hard going on the Monday. The fires kept relighting, kept the wind, the breeze kept blowing them. For them 2 days, I was getting calls on the phone. I mean, I know everybody in the area. I was getting calls on the phone. People were worried, they were scared, naturally. It's very frightening. Your whole house is covered in smoke. You can't get out. Some of them couldn't get out of their houses. Some couldn't get back into their houses. And still behind it all, you know, I've said this before, the community down there, they're a lovely community, it's a lovely area. But they were so supportive. They offered us food, drinks, refreshments, tea, you know. Lovely lady told me the key of her house is under the mat, please go in and help yourselves, you know. And it's in the height of all this, you know, they're scared, they're worried about their property, and still they're so supportive, so welcoming. The committee made the hall available for us for the whole week. Supermarket here in Ballyhaunis brought us out on 3 days running, brought us food and refreshments, snacks for all crews, you know. Nursing home and touring brought us up a dinner. You know, it's just, it's nice to be appreciated, really. It's a tough job. It was hard going. The videos you took, you can see, you know, a couple of the firemen dragging in hoses. You know, the fire kept igniting in different areas, and it covered a huge area, really huge area. So we were constantly moving from one area to another. You know, we had all the resources we needed. We had fire crews there, as I said, helicopters. But still, it's hard going for the few days we were in it. Really hard going, you know. And then you're very conscious of the danger, especially on the Sunday and the Monday. People, of course, are naturally curious. They could see the smoke from a long way away. They came for a look. That provides that kind of, how would you say, adds another danger, another element to our job, that you got to protect those people. You know, they can't see the danger, we can, that the fire can travel, spread, jump a road. So you had to look out for that, you know. And also, I mean, so, you know, the locals are trying to protect their own property, their own forestry, their own bog, whether they're turf cut. They were helping us. Some of them were great, some of them are in on their own. We had to pull them out of the bog. It's too dangerous, way too dangerous. One of your videos, the drone footage, shows it's great coverage. You can see the line of fire, and that's naturally what you would see in a bog, is a line of fire, and you can see where the breeze or the wind is blowing it, the direction it's blowing it. But in one clip, there are 2 circles of fire. And the 2 circles, it's a very good clip. The 2 circles prove the point. The fire jumped, the sparks carried through the warm air, dropped and ignited the heather and the gorse, and started burning out in circle. So that's, you know, that's hard to see from the ground, you know, from where we are, but from the drone footage, it's very evident of what was happening, you know. I mean, I witnessed the fire jumping over 150 metres, you know, sparks travelling. Turn around, you'd see it igniting in the bog. But as I said, the conditions, a month of dry weather, no growth. The ground was just so dry, along with the forestry. And the storm we had in January had knocked a lot of them trees. Those trees had dried, so there were, once the fire hit them, flame hit them, it was just like petrol igniting. They really just, you know, you can still see evidence. You, in some of your footage as well, you can see the evidence. It's not just where the fire hit the trees, it's the heat. Crossed roads and actually scorched trees not the flame, it's actually the heat. You know, there was temperatures there, anything up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. So, but as I said, fair play to the community down there, the locals, they were fantastic, they were very thankful. We did everything we possibly could for them. As I said, they were coming up to us, they were worried about this, worried about that. We looked after it, we deploy a crew to where felt it was necessary. That's our job. I mean, we just basically protect people's property, and that's what we do. Glad to do it. I'll say that was one of the worst I've seen. 2010, that was other circumstances. We had a really harsh winter, really, snow on the ground, a very hard frost. It burnt the ground, burnt the grass and the bogs. Then we had a very mild February, March, and very hot weather then April. And again, conditions were just perfect, no growth, dry, white grass in the bogs. We had a lot of bog fires that was a very busy year throughout the country really, but especially Mayo County and Roscommon County. Fire service were extremely busy. Anyway, to prevent it, I'm not sure. I don't have the answer for that really. It's I think going back years ago when people would cut their own turf, and generally it was a tradition that you'd burn off a bit of bog to cut the turf, We all know turf is, is it dying out? It's still a lot of it around, but newer houses, it's becoming a thing of the past, and everything is reverting back to nature. So fires there will always be bog fires, and I think actually, depending on the weather conditions, we will see more of them, because everything is going back to the natural. The bogs are returning to their natural state, In all fairness, the fire service have very good resources, very good equipment, and it is available. Not every station might have, the same equipment. We wouldn't have the same equipment maybe as Castlebar or Ballina, but within the county, the equipment is there. As in Roscommon, our neighbours, Ballyhaunis were with us for the week, so were Boyle, Elphin, Clamores. Ballyhaunis are very well equipped. They have tankers of water, different wildfire hoses. Some of the stations in the County Mayo have them, which we did get. I just send in a request. If I need anything, or I think I need anything, I send in the request, and that's, they'll send that out. You can't equip every station, it's a financial thing. You couldn't equip every station with all the equipment. You may not use it. Maybe once a year, maybe once every 5 years. It's not possible, but the resources are always made available. There's no issues there. Contact them. We had the helicopters there, as I said, as soon as they, once the requests came in, as soon as they were ready to go, they were made available to us, Especially the priority was given because the homes that were in danger. So they were made available, yeah. The helicopters, well, on the Sunday, the helicopters are belonging to a private company. So the council will have to cover that cost. The Air Corps helicopter came in on the Monday and assisted. But it's a private company. Yeah. We've seen some terrible incidents, we see a lot of road traffic accidents. I've seen some very brutal fatalities, really. And again, because we live and work in this area, so a lot of the accidents I've been called out to, I've known the people. You don't know until you get there, and then you realise who they are. That's tough. That's really tough. Look, we've a great resource here. The fire service provided. We can have a debrief, get a counsellor down to talk to us. It's there for us 24/7 if we need it. It's confidential. Any of us, there's a number there, so we can ring it. Any of the crew members or their family members, if it's taken a toll on them. So it's very good. And then there's the good side of it. You go to somebody, I always think a chimney fire, you know, we still get them. Chimney fire can be terrifying for a person. We don't think of it as, you know, that dangerous situation. Okay, we'll deal with the chimney fire. It's a pretty routine thing. But of course, for the person living in the home, they're not used to that like we're used to going to them. So it is a terrifying ordeal. So it's lovely to be able to go and deal and reassure the person that everything is fine. We've dealt with it, checked the house, checked the attic. Everything is fine. And to calm them, and you know, it's a very rewarding job. Great satisfaction in that. There was an interesting story. Sean Fraden was a station officer here for a long time. Just before I came in, actually. Sean left just before I came in, but he was at an incident, and on the way back, they spotted a chimney fire in a house. So he pulled in and he told the lady, look, you have a chimney fire. She didn't realise it. So they went in, they dealt with the chimney fire. And when they were going, she said, I'm very glad, she said, to see you. I just hope I don't see you again, she said. You know, it's just a way. But it's a good job. Best job in the world. Yes, as I said, we are recruiting at the moment. There are terms, I suppose. We need to live within a certain distance of the station and certain work within a certain distance of the station as well. Generally 4 minutes, you know. So we're a retained station. We're on call, generally 24/7. If we get the crews up to 12, you can go on week off, week on, week off. So that has improved a lot since last year. Now that's all. A lot of changes have come in since last year. So there are big improvements made for the crew conditions really. So yeah, anybody that wishes to apply, by all means, call into the station here, have a chat with me or any of the crew members. They'd only be delighted to talk to you. You know. The only brave thing you'll do is apply for it and join the fire station. After that, it's a job. You know, it's just what we do. It's like what you do. It's like when anybody does their job. And when you love it, you'll do it to the best of your ability.
Is that job or mission?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. Yeah. I suppose a job and a mission. Yeah, it's like a calling, really. There's a good, you know. Look, I'm not denying it. When that pager alerter goes off, and you come down to the station here and get in, see what the call is. You're getting geared up. You're getting out there. There's a good buzz to it. It's a great feeling and a great camaraderie with the crew, you know, because you're trusting them. There's a lot of trust involved. We're not here manufacturing something, or, you know, it's not a production line. We're going out to a call and you're depending on that fire person beside you, you know, to back you up. Full trust, you know, you have to trust them. But it all comes down to training and practice. And yeah. But it comes with experience, you know. I'm not saying you can read a fire, but you have a good idea what the fire is doing. You know, so that really comes with experience. And yeah, I saw that in the video. He's pulling in a hose, and or your footage, he's pulling in a hose, you know. What he was trying to do there was stop the fire reigniting. But yeah, again, you know, scary looking stuff. You know, he's gone into darkness, smoke, etc. You know. Yeah, it can be. There was the tragedy in Bray there a number of years ago. 2 firefighters lost their lives in I think it was a commercial building. Yeah, and there in England only recently, you probably saw. Yeah, it's tragic, you know. But luckily, thankfully, we don't. No, they're everywhere. I have one here now, but there's nothing plugged into it. Chargers, you know, anybody that has, including myself, teenagers, they'll have, God knows, an array of phones, computers, laptops, equipment, PlayStations. These things left plugged in. I'm not saying all of them, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, you know, but something left plugged in on, and especially in the bedrooms, under duvet or left on a cushion, they will heat. They're chargers, and anything with a battery in can heat. Just be careful. I'm not telling everybody, you know, they're part of our life now, you know, their technology is part of our life, but you just have to be so careful with it. Just unplug. Just be careful leaving things plugged in, you know, even tools. I mean, I work with power tools. The batteries for the power tools, I wouldn't leave them plugged in the shed or the garage overnight. You know, I always make sure, I have a habit actually of just leaving on the garage light, so I know I have to go down, turn it off, plug out the chargers. Anything, scooters, e-scooters, electric bikes, you know, there's a lot very popular. I only got one there myself lately. I need to do a bit of cycling. But the best thing anybody can have in a house is a smoke alarm. I mean, cheap as chips, and they do save lives. Check the batteries, whether, okay, a lot of houses now, they're connected, they have a battery backup, and they're connected to the power of the house. But I mean, you can buy them anywhere in the shops here. Buy a good one, certified one, and stick them everywhere. I have them even in the attic. You know, fire starts in the attic. You know, it's not, the smoke isn't going to come down to the smoke alarm in the hallway. You know, so and look, if the fire alarm goes off or smoke alarm goes off, get out of the house. Get out of the house first. Don't be going around grabbing this. Get out, make the call, 911 or 999. Call the fire service in, but get out. Let us deal with it. Don't take a chance. If there's smoke in the house and heat, just get out. And kind of have in your head as well, it's always a very good thing, you know. A lot of people don't plan it, but have a plan of action. You know, if the smoke alarm goes off, especially where there's children or maybe elderly or something, what do we do? What door do we leave by? Well, of course, you know, front door, back door, whatever, but meet in the front or meet in the back garden, but just, you know, right, we're going to make our way there, you know. If you hear the smoke alarm, get out, meet around there, you know. It's amazing. Just have a little plan up here, a little plan, the family have a plan made. All these things, you know, they'll save lives. Thankfully, we don't have as much house fires now. People are more cautious, safer. Electricity, the way houses are wired, are much safer now, you know, smoke alarms, etc. Chimneys, of course, get them cleaned, you know, get them cleaned regular. That's a thing. We still have a few. They were a big thing one time, even before my time, but we still get an odd chimney fire, and but not as many. These things, again, more modern houses with all this air to water, etc. It's all changing, you know, underfloor heating, and solar panels and all that. Maybe they'll bring their own problems too. Who knows? I'm not sure. Other things in the house, again, I can't tell everybody go around and unplug everything, you know. People have computers, tellies, standby. Hard to go around and unplug everything in the house now, but in general, don't leave, as I said, things that are charging, turn them off. Christmas time, but just be careful of the candles, Christmas lights, all that. That's, you know, especially, we all love the candles, you know, and their wives and girlfriends, they're very romantic, etc. But don't take chances with them. Don't take chances. In all the years I've been fighting fires, we'll see them, you know. I didn't see any foxes. There was foxes naturally. I don't know, did you pick it up with your footage, or did you see it when you're out? You'll always see the trail of the fox. The fox takes the same path through the bog all the time, or along a ditch. So when the fire burns off, you can see that little track because it hasn't grown up, you know. I didn't find any this time, but I found them in previous bogs, nests, pheasants, you know. It's very sad, you know, to see the pheasants can fly away, but to see them coming back looking for the nest, you know, wild ducks. It has a huge, look, this is one of the awful things about a bog fire, really. It's the wildlife, you know, they're teeming with wildlife and that. But the bogs will recover. You can see it already, the shoots, the green is coming back. The bogs will recover. Big loss there, though. around Gorthaganny is the trees, the amount of trees. And not just the forestry, not just, like the investment forestry, but there's a lot of wild nature there, trees there, and they've just been destroyed. We were out again 2 weeks after that fire, after all the rain we had. And there's about 12 birch trees, and lovely trees, And they had just fallen over where the ground around them has burnt down and exposed the roots. Didn't burn the trees, but and they just fell over, It's just burning deeper and deeper and deeper. So, like as I said, for the people of Gorthaganny, the whole landscape has changed. Their view has changed. The bog will grow back, as I said, but a lot of them wild trees, it's going to take years for that to recover, So, yeah.